Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
Welcome to Dark Minds, Shattered Lives, where we expose predators, dive into the minds of evildoers, and help you and your loved ones avoid them. I'm your host, Deborah Dobbs. I'm an author and victim advocate with a reputation for rattling cages. So I was editing an episode with Joe Scaramucci, just kind of going through the usual process, going a little slower than normal. But then last night, something caught my attention and I knew I had to kick things up a notch. What came up last night continued into the morning and virtually all day. It was a lot of buzz about the Lewisville Police Department. So if you're not familiar with Lewisville, it's in north central Texas. I believe their cases are filed in Denton County, and I'm also in north central Texas. So what's happening with the officers in the Lewisville Police Department? They behaved rather badly, and it's not just what they did. We actually discussed this. Joe Scaramucci and I discussed this in episode 3. We talked about Lewisville police officers and how they, at best you can say, mishandled some investigations that they did. But now it's also the reporting that is annoying me and kind of making my skin crawl. And really it just comes down to throwing the word prostitute around and not recognizing trafficking for what it is. Again, if you listen to episode 3 with Joe Scaramucci and I, it'll be familiar. And the tactics that the Lewisville officers used were, they've been described in the media as unethical and questionable. But I don't know if that's a strong enough word for what they did. And Joe even really mentioned it's illegal. They're committing crimes. So the CBS News, that's the outlet I saw today, they got a hold of the internal affairs investigation, the records. It was over 2,000 pages. I think they had dozens of hours of recorded video. I think they interviewed, the internal affairs interviewed about 50 different individuals. It took CBS reporters, they said weeks to go through all of the pages in this. And another person who had done this said it's the biggest investigation she's ever seen, and she's been doing this about 10 years. So here's the deal. The Lewisville PD had a street crimes unit that decided they wanted to investigate these massage businesses. And at the same time, I guess the city, the people in the city, the citizens were kind of demanding something be done about all of these IMBs, illicit massage businesses, which are trafficking operations. So that it's kind of an interesting parallel universe going on there, really, because they had very different intentions. So this street crimes unit apparently didn't have enough people to help. So it looks like they started pulling officers from other units in, and it included a rookie, this rookie who'd never done any undercover work. And they pull him in there and they tell him, once you give her the money and you have this deal made, then break contact. He didn't break contact after the deal was made for almost 5 minutes, getting his happy ending. I'm not going to go into details about what he was doing to get his happy ending, but he let it go on. And a lot of these guys are saying, well, I don't know how to investigate these things. I didn't know. We didn't have any training. No one told us what to do, which is kind of, it would be funny if this wasn't so disgusting, because they actually did have training. Joe trained them. Joe Scaramucci provided the training. So this so-called investigation, 2 years, this went on. It started in October 2022. Joe trained them in August 2021. So I guess everybody just forgot or quit. I don't know what happened, but if you've listened to the past episode and what you're going to see next is how easy it is to actually vet these massage businesses. Like for you and me, it's really easy to do. A simple Google search will give you most of the information that you need. And if you're law enforcement, a tiny little bit of legwork can be done to gather more intel, but you never need to get on the table and get naked. The other thing that's interesting about this case is that some of the guys just thought it was hilarious. And apparently they were talking about it pretty openly, swapping stories and joking around about it in front of people in the records department. This became common knowledge for 2 years, I guess. And there were a few that said they weren't okay with, as Joe would say, doing the dirty. But they never stopped it. They just kind of looked the other way. And here's the other thing that the media did that was just annoying. They bring on, of course, they got to get an expert on, right? So they bring on this expert. He's long retired. And he used to do vice operations, and that's fine and all. But they asked the guy, is it really ever necessary to touch any of these women? And he said, yeah, sometimes it is, which tells me he knows nothing about investigating IMBs. I am no cop, okay? I'm a victim advocate and a writer and a nonprofit leader, but I seem to know more about investigating IMBs than these guys, just with a few conversations with Joe Scaramucci, who trained them. So anyway, this guy, this expert is saying, yeah, sometimes you got to touch them. Sometimes, you got to do that. And maybe that worked back in the day when they're busting prostitutes on street corners and that's how you did it. But that's not how you handle trafficking investigations today. Not at all. So, unless you've been living under a rock, you guys should know better. It shows what Lewisville did wrong from the get-go. They were treating illicit massage businesses just like regular massage parlors that had some prostitutes hanging around. But come on. It's like I said, have you learned nothing over the years? Have you forgotten everything that you were taught in 2021? In today's episode, we're going to show you how to vet these businesses, how easy it is. 2 of them are really close to home for me. They're next to a favorite restaurant and down the street from where I grew up, my childhood home. So these are a little personal. We're going to show you how easy it is to do this, how fast it is, and it's going to be eye-opening. And heads up, this episode talks about things that are just dehumanizing and violence, sexual violence that occurs inside these operations. So yeah, guys, that you're cutting up and you're laughing, you think it's hilarious. It's really disgusting and it's violent and it's horrific what goes on in some of these places. So anyway, this episode is for mature audiences. Listener discretion is strongly advised. IMBs, the illicit massage businesses. First of all, can you explain why these aren't just prostitutes? Because I think some of the people that go to these places think, well, they're doing this, they want to do this. This is just, this is a sex worker and big deal. So why is this different?
So for one, if you really break down the numbers, there's not that many consensual sex workers in the commercial sex trade when it comes to what is trafficking, what is not, right? The part that I always laugh at lightly, from the sex buyer perspective, right? They're like, oh, these women, they just want to they just want to do this and this to me. As though they're like Channing Tatum walking through the door, right? Oh, nasty fat dude with sawdust in his hair. Ain't showered in 3 days, thinks some woman wants to just throw her body to him. Now, how arrogant and just absolutely obnoxious is that, right? So let's just be real with ourselves right out of the chute. I've had the fortune, I think we talked about it before, of working these things around the world. And I've only ever come in contact with one that it was prostitution and not human trafficking. It had previously been trafficking, but because of life circumstances, this woman basically booted everybody out and she was just there working on her own. They're very, very closely tied to Chinese organized crime. The overwhelming majority of these women are here in a legal status, right? So they are here in a legal documented way. Not to say everybody, but the majority. Mm-hmm. And there's a huge financial and cultural coercive mechanism behind it. So, one of the easiest ways of looking at this is if I take your average American who speaks and reads zero Mandarin, and I put them in the middle of China, and I tell them, you're going to do X, Y, and Z. There's nowhere for you to go. If you call the police for help, they're going to rape and rob you. They work for me because I pay them. That's a very real threat, especially in a country like China. So there's that lifetime of history they have going on that tells them that this is probably the case. And then what happens, literally the white guy with the wedding ring on comes in and rapes them. They get robbed regularly enough. And then the police intervene and the police take them to jail. Right? Yeah. The trafficker is telling the truth by virtue of the fact. So, those things, and add one extra layer of that. How many people, particularly, middle-aged, either middle class or upper middle class, get all weird about like Big Brother watching and all this. I'm not putting this and this on social media. I'm not going to use Chat GPT. I'm not going to blah, blah, blah. Where's the data being stored? And then they go into a business where Chinese organized crime is occurring and they carry their cell phone for an hour, right? Mm-hmm. This makes a lot of national security sense. So there's a lot more at play than just,
interesting.
This
That's a completely different angle. Okay.
It really is, right? Think of how many, let's even take you guys. You're in DFW area. You have a joint reserve base covered in people up there in Carswell, right? You have, what other places that are of national security interests in the DFW area? I mean, a lot, right? Mm-hmm. And if you think that people aren't talking work on their personal cell phones and or business cell phones that they're taking into these places. Yeah. Come on.
Okay.
Huge.
Okay. So then some people that don't care might suddenly care.
Yeah. Save America. Don't go to IMBs.
All right. Hey, whatever it takes, man. So for years, I've been interested in this and frustrated with how these things, they just don't go away. You close one down, another one pops up, and it may just be because they're not doing it properly. So I'm always on the lookout for these things. I hear your dog.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
What's his name?
Mattis. He's
Mattis?
So the Marine Corps mascot is the English Bulldog. And General Mattis was the legit Marine leader of our time, so it's stuck.
So is he under the table? He's under your table?
He's headed this way, and he's going to make some noises. I apologize.
He sounds very substantial, like he's a substantial size.
Yeah, he's a basically a walking hippopotamus of a dog.
Okay, that explains it.
Yeah.
But he's 10, so he's had a good life.
He has.
So I was going into one of our family's favorite restaurants. And this is a place where we've celebrated birthdays, Mother's Days for over 20 years. Faith, I took her there, on Mother's Day, my first Mother's Day. She's just a few months old. So she's been, part of this place. And anyway, it's a really special place. So I go in and I see right next door, and it's a French restaurant. It's a nice kind of bougie restaurant. I see a place that I'm pretty sure is an IMB because the windows were covered. That was the first clue. I don't know if you saw, I put a video of this up on Instagram because as I was coming out after dinner, I'd had a couple glasses of wine, and I turned on my little video and started recording and telling my sister-in-law, "This is how you know this place is illegal. It's a trafficking operation." And I think they have a ring thing looking at me. Yeah. And I said, the windows are covered. You can't see anything in the lobby. It was pitch dark in the lobby, but the sign was on, the open sign. And so I tested the door, and it's night at this point, not super late. And the door was open. And then I announced, hey, maybe they'll give me a massage. And at that point, Wayne said, "Debbie, no, let's go." Yeah. So I remembered how you said you can just Google the number and look it up. So I was going to look it up on this thing. And then before I even got to that point, I dropped my mom off at her house last week. And that's in my childhood home. At the end of that street, it's this little business complex. That's where my dentist was when I was a kid. There was an eye doctor there, a realtor. And on the weekends, all the business is closed. And definitely dating myself, this is like the late 70s. We'd go roller skating down there. And in the early 80s, had a boom box. I think somebody had a boom box. And then, like the neighborhood would have little parties and gatherings there. So it was another little, kind of a special place. One of these damn things have set up shop. I'm positive. So really secluded, but they have a sign prominently displayed that says Asian massage. And when I've done a tiny little bit of searching on Google, it seems like that is code. Just Asian massage is something these guys keep saying, well, I've been looking for an Asian massage place. Is that just code for, or are there actually Asian massage places that say Asian massage and it's just legitimate?
Yeah, I mean, that's tough, right? Because are there legitimate Asian run, Chinese run massage businesses? Yes. I go to one, right? It's as legit as they come. All the workers are Chinese, but when we're looking at all the characteristics combined, we have a problem, right? If they're advertising Asian massage, and again, like we talked about, a whole bunch of guys are walking in and out, that's a red flag, right?
Okay.
It's like anything else, particularly in law enforcement. It's not one thing. It's the total of everything, right? It's the totality of the circumstance. And I would expect to find a legitimate Asian run massage business in especially in areas that have like a Chinatown, right? So what is it? Richardson or Carrollton has the little kind of, Richardson.
I know Richardson does.
Yeah. So it is Richardson because there's a really good restaurant there that I like. I would expect there to be a Asian run establishment there. Makes complete sense. One. A legitimate one, yes. It really, truly just kind of boils down to what is the total of everything, and that's what I'm always looking for anyway. So it's difficult for me to necessarily to just find something I'm not looking at.
Okay.
With that lens, you know what I mean?
How about I'm going to share my screen and put this phone number in because I don't remember what all popped up here. All right. Can you see Google?
I can.
All right. Is it clear?
It is. Yeah, it is.
All right. So this is what you said in episode 3. You said all you got to do is enter the phone number in Google.
All it is.
And if they're doing the dirties, you're going to see it. What is that place?
That's so that is Lux Thai Spa. Yep.
That's actually not the one that I meant to look up. Okay. But since we're already here, this one, these are the reviews.
So it's got a legitimate website, which is a good start, right?
And
Yelp reviews, those can go either way. Usually, what you'll find on Yelp reviews is if they're doing things they shouldn't, usually it's women that give the low reviews and men that give the high reviews, right? So you'll find there was one, I can't remember where we were, and it was like, I I don't know why my boyfriend goes to this place so often. It's not that good. And I'm like,
Oh.
And it's an image of her and him on the like icon. So you'll find those from time to time.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's only one Yelp review, 5
Okay,
stars, but it's just
not-
one.
Yeah,
So-
I wouldn't.
Okay.
Focus too much.
So
if you-
they have a Facebook page. It's all in-
Yep. So there's the hot.com. We start getting a little weird on that.
Okay.
But yeah,
You want me to click on it, or
Sure. Yeah, why not? I mean, you never know what's going to pop up, right?
I know it was a little unsettling. Some of these things I've looked up.
Doesn't look like much.
Okay.
Yeah. That may be a legit place.
No reviews. No comments. Okay.
It doesn't have reviews in the places I would think it would if there were issues. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
It doesn't look like that may be one of your Asian.
Oh!
Whoop.
Whoa!
Yep.
Whoa!
We don't want to see that. Yeah. Yep. That's why I said I'm not Googling anything on a shared screen. Not happening. That's
Oh
like
my
that's like
God.
answering the phone on speaker when it's your best friend. Don't do that.
Okay, is that a what?
I think
does,
that linked back to like an ad. So that is not the
Not
concern.
related.
Not related. It was on the website where there could be some concern. But since there was nothing, I wouldn't really worry about that business right now. But yeah, I mean
Oh gosh.
and that was light. That was light.
Yeah, that's like not. I
Yeah.
I imagine that.
This
okay,
is
here,
why
this
it's
is
difficult
fun. This
to
is really
pull my
fun.
laptop up
Woo!
on a flight all the time.
Oh my god, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Oh right, I'm going to attract the wrong audience for this podcast. All right, let's try this again. Thank God for editing.
Listener demographics just became 25 to 50-year-old white men.
Oh. All right, so that place, despite whatever it was I clicked on, and that wasn't the Thai massage website or anything, that was just gross. For me,
Unrelated.
gross. Now I'm going to go to the one that is by the restaurant, the family restaurant that we love. Okay, let's see here. I think it's called Time for Me. Here's Time for Me massage.
Okay.
So there's the Yelp. What is Rub Maps? Is that?
So, yeah, that's a website where that's where guys review what occurred within the establishment. So that is the website for all the dirties.
So the fact that pops up, is that like a little red flag?
It can be, but it's not necessarily. So that website you have to pay for. You have to have an account. You set it up the whole 9 yards. It's based on what the user's input, right? So I can go put an establishment on there, but if it's not doing anything illegitimate, it doesn't matter. Nobody will comment. Nobody will like it. So the fact that it's on there is not really a problem.
Okay.
I am on the website, though, and the fact that it has 63 reviews, with the most recent being 8 days ago, and there being a $165 tip that was paid, that would be a problem.
Okay. So you're looking at some stuff
Yeah, I'm
here.
on that one.
I'm
Yeah.
already looking at it. Okay, so if I, just because we're demonstrating this, oh my gosh,
Yep.
I don't know what's going to come up here. I'm going to click on, because I'm not going to pay for anything. I'm not going to enroll for anything. I don't know what bed page
So
is.
BedPage is going to pull up it's a website that's to post sex ads. That website's going to be inundated with nude images if you click it.
Oh, I don't want to click that.
That is one of the ones that back years ago when Backpage got shut down, BedPage was one of the ones that popped up immediately after.
Okay. All right, I'm going to click on time for me massage.
Yeah, it's going to pull up their, the hot website. Yep. So,
I'm sorry, yeah, hot.com. I keep naming the place, the hot.com. So there's your windows covered.
yep.
The bottom half looks like it's open, but the day I was there, I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see
that
anything.
might be reflective.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh.
Yeah, so what he's saying on there in translation is the massage was obviously okay. It was a 6 of 10. When he flipped over onto his back, she offered a he got oral sex from her.
Oh
Massage.
my gosh.
So he paid $200 for oral sex with her, and then he goes on to obviously discuss her body.
It's like she's not human. She's just a product.
Yeah, it really that's the sad part about it is 100% product. It's like leaving a review for something you buy on Amazon.
Oh, gross. Gross. Okay. Not full service, but great massage. I like the way. Oh, if you're willing to drop 200, they provide full service.
Yeah, so full service would be sexual intercourse.
And this guy says, the original one, if I didn't have my student loans, I'd take her up on it, LOL. She did offer me her number. It's like he really thinks this is a mutual. Okay, so do you have any question about this place now?
No, not at all. No, that's very apparent what's going on there.
Okay, so that's next to my favorite restaurant where I was taking my little girl.
I mean,
Okay,
that's...
I'm going to do the one next to, because this one is newer.
Okay.
Next to where I grew up.
That's kind of the unfortunate thing about these, right? And that's what's the most interesting about them is with all other forms of trafficking, that are prostitution based, you could pretty much guarantee they're going to be at a hotel, they're going to be whatever. These are happening. I mean, there was one in Waco that was in the same parking lot as a Baskin-Robbins ice cream shop, right? There were wives used to call Baskin-Robbins and ask if there was a certain vehicle in the parking lot to get you can't make it up.
Have you, I know there's well-documented research that links porn to erectile dysfunction.
Oh,
Have you heard, are you aware of that, I'm assuming?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you know of any research done to correlate between frequenting these places and erectile dysfunction?
I don't know about the correlation between ED and purchasing sex. I do know that we do have guys from time to time that will say that they can't do that. They can't get an erection, so that's why they could have never actually been paying for sex, right? They're like, well, it could have never even happened because, and you're like, dude, come on, like, let's be real.
Like an affirmative defense?
Exactly, right? That's the defense is, well, I couldn't have actually done it, so therefore. I mean, the day somebody drops trouser and they don't have a penis, I'll be like, fine, I kind of believe that you weren't going to intend on that.
Right.
But until that day, come on. Yeah, I mean,
tell me
there's some studies that are out there about the correlation between sex buying as a whole and pornography. Mm-hmm. But I don't like them. I don't think they're accurate.
Which ones?
The correlation between pornography and purchasing sex.
Oh, okay. Huh. I'm not aware of those. I just am aware of the ED and porn. Okay, I'm going to hit enter.
Yeah. Okay.
Place where I used to roller skate.
Yep. Asian massage. So you've got your bed page, right? Which is obviously,
first one.
Yep, obviously your ads. There's not a lot beyond that though.
What is up with the secret hostess escorts? Why would that pop up?
That's probably some kind of just BS.
Okay.
I mean, it's
grief.
Yeah, this is talking about everything, all forms, all sorts of different sex stuff other than
New girl.
that.
So if I click on this, this is going to be their ad.
Yeah, so if you were to click on that one, I'm pulling it right now. Yeah, you'd find a bunch of naked Asian females. Yep. So
That's their ad.
it's that easy.
So there's no question about what this place really is.
No, I would say
That's
no.
their advertisement.
Yep.
Oh my God. Okay. I sound like such a prude. And, you know, I've been doing victims work for 28 years and, you know, but mostly domestic violence and, some sex crimes like sexual assaults. But this,
Yeah.
there's a whole world of it.
It's in Richardson?
Yeah. It's
Yep.
right down the street from where I grew up.
Yeah, over
All
off
right,
West
so-
Campbell.
So what do you, now that I know this, what would you suggest I do with this information?
That's the $1 million question, right? So, I mean, there's a few different things that are done. We had a driving school in Waco, and it's still here, but they had an IMB next to it, and they would mark down the license plates of the guys who showed up to this place. And they would go pay to have the license plate run. And then they would send like a pre-filled form to the mailing address on the license plate. And it would be like, hey, on this date, your vehicle with this license plate was seen at this business at this time. And the goal for them was that the wives would check the mail. And there would be the whole like, hey, your vehicle was seen at this place. So that's one way to do it. I've seen where organizations have collected everything they could find online, found out who the actual owner of the strip mall was, and taken that to the owner of the strip mall and being like, hey, this is what's going on in your establishment. Okay. There's a few issues with that one I see. For one is you don't know if there's a law enforcement investigation, right? So if there is an investigation taking place and say the owner was to evict them, that could lead to some problems, right? It could interfere with the investigation. So that, I would say, don't do that. There are methods that law enforcement uses to do that, and they do it through civil statute, where essentially they'll basically tell the landlord, evict these people or we're coming after you. Like, evict them or we will seize the building or we'll do this or that. I don't like it on its own. That was something that was kind of created by the state of Missouri a few years back. They got real hot and heavy into it. The problem is it had no teeth, right? And they kind of prided themselves, if we're being honest, on, well, we shut down 100 illicit massage businesses. And it's like, well, no, they packed up or they got evicted. And then they went 2 blocks down the road and they rented from somebody else. You didn't close anything. You didn't stop anything.
Inconvenienced them.
For what? Like a day, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really think it's an effective method at all. So I would always go back to the very long way of answering that question. Take it all to law enforcement. You know.
Okay. So just ask them if they're investigating and
You'll probably get told.
Seen here.
You'll probably get told they can't tell you, but you know.
Yeah.
I would definitely do that. You know, there's always the route of city council. You know, people are elected to positions.
Okay. Yeah, one in Richardson, they're easy to access. The one in Dallas PD is massive. But that's where I first learned about trafficking, was at a workshop put on by a couple detectives.
Yeah,
Dallas PD.
Yeah, Dallas PD actually has my favorite vice unit in the country. They're awesome. They really are awesome.
Okay.
And
That's good to hear.
their methods for targeting trafficking, I'm not going to say where they might have undergone training initially, but they're very effective at shutting down the IMBs. They take a financial approach to it. They take an organized crime approach to it, and they actually do a very, very good job of it.
And do they work with the NGOs for the victims?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal. It really is a phenomenal vice unit with that agency there.
Do you see a different kind of a profile of the people that frequent these places compared to somebody that engages in different kind of trafficking? Are the predators different?
So your sex buyers, if you do a hotel based operation, right, it's going to look like a color chart. It's going to be white, black, Hispanic, Asian, Middle Eastern. Everybody's going to come. When it's illicit massage business, it's generally you're like 25 to like 55-year-old white guy with a wedding ring. The overwhelming majority are going to be white men. Like 95% will be white men. Educated, they're, we had a deal here in Waco several years ago where the business owner had actually installed hidden cameras, like hidden, like in alarm clock kind of hidden. So we had several months of like internal video to this, and several went to jail. I mean, you can definitely search it, but business owners, people that were millionaires, you name it. There was not a safe place to eat barbecue in Waco, Texas for me for like 2 years, because every barbecue joint owner went to jail.
Wow.
Yeah, people in medical fields, law enforcement, business owners, bankers, real estate, you name it. But the overwhelming majority are middle-aged white guys.
So do you think they think this is safer? And do you think they understand that they're committing a felony?
So the first part, yeah, I think they think it's safer, right? If you knock on a hotel door and I sling the door open, there's like, we know what's going on, right? Jigs up, you're going to jail. If you're a buyer and you walk into an illicit massage business, the chance that the cops have a half-naked Asian female working undercover is pretty slim to none, right? So if you walk in a massage business and I'm standing there, all you got to do is say, "Hey, no, I was looking for a female therapist," or, whatever. "Oh, my back was hurting, but it mysteriously just got better." You walk out the door, no harm, no foul. What can I prove?
Right.
I mean, it's hidden in plain sight, right? So you are not going to budget hotels. You are going somewhere where you're not walking in getting sex that you're paying for and leaving, but now you're like actually getting, I mean, I like massages, right? Like I go get them regularly. So you're getting the added benefit of the massage and the same act for the same amount of money. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's viewed as a safer, more white collar form. And then the second part of your question as to whether or not they even realize they're committing a felony, no, I don't think so. I think that they know that what they're doing is against the law. I remember when some district attorneys came out when sex buying became a felony, and they were like, "Oh, we have to warn everybody first." No, you don't. They all know it's illegal to pay for sex. They all absolutely know it's a crime. Now, whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony, roll those dice, buddy. That's on you, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think they realize they're committing a felony, but I have no doubt they know that what they're doing is illegal.
Okay. One of those reviews, though, that long one, I noticed how dehumanizing he was towards her, and also he got kind of physical with her. There was a part where he pushed on her head, and I just wonder how much of that happens.
A lot. So it's interesting you bring that up. The case I was telling you where we had the cameras that we recovered from inside, there were a lot of forcible rapes, like guys chasing women and like flipping them over beds and pinning them down and raping them. It was crazy. I've seen a lot, right? Like I did trafficking for a decade. Before that, I did dead people cases for the longest time, child sexual abuse. So I've kind of figured nothing would surprise me, but that was actually really shocking to me. And it's a fairly helpless feeling when you're watching somebody that is actually getting raped and you can't do anything about it, right? You're like watching a show that you can't intervene, or like a dream that you can't wake up and stop. Like it's a pretty shitty feeling. And yeah, the amount of that actually goes on. And what was more interesting is I found that the more violent the guy was, the more the women smiled. And the only thing in ever talking to victims of trafficking and survivors, you know, particularly ones that are friends that I've been able to have open conversation with, is if I smile and pretend to be happy, he will get off faster. It will make this end.
Oh.
And you were watching it. Like, I remember, and it became kind of a debate with, at the time, the district attorney's office, because they would be like, look, she's smiling. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, you're watching her be, like, she's pinned down. I don't care if she's laughing. Like, what the hell? And that was kind of hard for people to really grasp. Like, you know, so that guy that left that review, yeah, and that's what makes him an asshole, right? Is he's forcibly doing those things, and then he's posting on the internet about how it was, and then you know, has the audacity to be like, oh, and she, you know, she had a 5 of 10 body. Come on, bro, really?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Really?
You see the worst in humanity. I mean, there's no humanity. You see the worst people have to offer and inflict on each other, and then you're just day in and day out doing that. How do you keep from losing your mind or crossing the line?
Yeah.
You know?
I think the biggest thing is it's still a cat and mouse game, right? Like, that guy, I don't care what kind of, if he's going to a hotel or he's going to an illicit massage business, you could have asked every single person we arrested, as an example, from that particular one IMB we had here, and I bet every one of them would have told you that they thought they were going to get away with it, right? So it's like any crime, and it's something that, you know, they talk about in law enforcement all the time. I'm sure Wayne has probably said it before, but it's like a criminal has to get lucky during every single criminal event that they have. And we only have to get lucky once. So eventually I'm going to get that one lucky straw, right? And you're going to get the short one. And that's that. Now, there are things that I can do to tip those odds into my favor, right? And to me, that's what, like, keeps this from being depressing, is it's always that, like, what do I do next? Like, what's going to be the next, you know, great way of doing this? Like, how do we tip that scale?
What does it feel like? Are you satisfied when you're the one that opens the door? Does that, you know?
Oh,
like,
yeah. No, yeah.
that?
I don't know, man. I still, every time I see a car pull in the parking lot, I still laugh. Like, I still actually, like, will give an audible laugh.
It's still rewarding. It's still satisfying.
It's rewarding, and this is going to sound bad, but it is what it is, right? You show up, you think you're about to do the dirty, you're all happy, you know, probably popped your blue pill if that's necessary, and the door slings open, and like 8 dudes jump out at you, right? The face that comes of this, I don't, you know, obviously women don't watch this as generally, right? But for men, the only thing I can say is take the excitement of watching your child being born, your firstborn, and like maybe drop like 0.5% below that, and that is the joy you feel watching this. Aside from that, there is a level of arrogance that so many of these guys have. Mm-hmm. And that they actually will sit there and hold in front of your face, and they just kind of like have this weird air about them. And I'm not gonna lie, I have a certain level of joy just watching that pan out, because I know on the inside they're just cringing.
Joe's dog Mattis needed his attention, so the usual thank yous and goodbyes, see you next times, didn't happen. I am planning to contact both Dallas and Richardson police departments to talk to them about the operations that have contaminated a couple spaces that are near and dear to me. Of course, they won't be able to comment on what they're doing about them. They may already be investigating them. Regarding the video that Joe mentioned about the rape in the IMB in Waco, that perpetrator was charged, but the victims couldn't be found, so he wasn't convicted. It's interesting how the video of a murder is sufficient evidence, but a video of a rape isn't. Due process requires that, we, the accused, can confront our accusers, but in these cases, it really makes it hard. It's really frustrating. It's kind of why, as advocates, we often emphasize criminal on the criminal justice system. Long ago, a nonprofit victim advocacy organization had a t-shirt that read something like, "The criminal justice system is concerned about your rights, provided you have recently beaten, murdered, or raped someone." It was a bit of a shocking slogan, but I got it. 28 years in this field, I get it. I implore you to pay attention to massage businesses. Use the techniques that you saw us using or listened to us using today. 2 of the 3 that we Googled turned out to be trafficking operations, and we didn't even have to go inside. Thank you for listening to Dark Minds, Shattered Lives. I'm Deborah Dobbs, and until next time, trust your gut and know your exits.